Good morning. My name is Maurice Crespi. I'm the managing partner of Schindler's Attorneys. Schindler's Attorneys is a co-founder of COBRA. COBRA was founded by IQ Business, Schindler's Attorneys, and Engaged Business Turnaround. And the idea behind COBRA is that we're there to help businesses in distress in any which way we can. We do so by setting up private Zoom sessions with you and your team, if need be. We set up webinars such as today's. We have an incredible knowledge base on our website, www.cobra.org.za. And please reach out. Send an email to info@cobra.org.za with any request, any query. As I said, we're there for you, and we're there to assist any businesses from spaza shop all the way up to big business, which we've been doing. Quite a few companies have come through the system, and we've been able to help. And we already have rescues, successful rescues, thanks to COBRA. Today we have one of the webinars which we provide on a daily basis, so please join us at 10 o'clock each day. Today we are dealing with marketing in a new world with Joe Public and 506. We have two guest panelists, Gareth Leck, who's the CEO of Joe Public, and Evan Sotiropoulos, Managing and Creative Director and owner of 506. And they're here to discuss the key principles to move your communication design forward in a forever changing world. A bit about Gareth. He completed his BCom degree at UCT, followed by a postgraduate diploma in marketing at the AAA School of Advertising. He joined Pepper Marie in opening Joe Public Takeaway Advertising in '98. In only its second year of business, Joe Public was nominated by Financial Mail as Emerging Agency of the Year. By 2014, the agency had risen to the top of the industry, ranked by the Ad Focus Awards of Agency of the Year. In his personal capacity, Gareth has been voted as MarkLives.com's Agency Leaders Most Admired Ad Agency Boss in South Africa in 2014, and again as a runner-up in 2015. In 2016, he was again awarded as runner-up for Agency Leaders Most Admired Ad Agency Boss in Jozi. Evan 506, he was formed in March 2003. He formed it. He's an experienced art director and designer who's worked at most of the big ad agencies in Johannesburg during his career. 506 deals in the small to medium-sized sector of business and the market, helping them with their communication design, branding, corporate identity, and bridging over into the marketing and advertising side when needed. So we're very lucky today. We're dealing with marketing. We have true experts in the marketing field, so we're very, very lucky. Before I hand over to them, I'd like to introduce the remaining panelists. We are joined by Emma Marseille from IQ Business, Adam Kraker, who's the CEO of COBRA and the Chief Executive of IQ Business, Renee Klopper from IQ Business, and Tasneem from Schindler's Attorneys. So thanks, guys. Gareth and Evan, over to you. Really appreciate you being here. And to the audience, please ask questions. This is a webinar, and the idea is that you ask questions. If you're watching on Facebook, you'll see that I've posted a link. Please click on the link, hop on, and post your questions. Thanks, guys. Over to you.
I think I'll just turn my video on for everybody. Show my face. Hi, everybody. Nice to see you this morning. Well, not to see you, but nice to virtually meet you this morning. I know Evan, if you want to say hi.
Thanks, Maurice.
Yeah, pleasure. Thanks, guys.
Okay, so I think I'm going to jump on and share my screen. I'm just going to shut my video off and share my screen and see if this works. It worked earlier. It's holding thumbs. I think, can everybody see that?
Yes.
Yep.
Okay, great. So yeah, my title is Marketing, or our title is Marketing in a New World. And I think I think it should be Marketing in a Change World. And I think we all know it, but the world has changed for good, I suppose you could say, change for the bad, but it'll never be the same again. And I think consumer behavior and expectations have shifted in a major way. And this is a fact that we must all come to terms with. I mean, I actually went shopping this weekend and I went to the mall, And I left the mall with my wife swearing to myself and to her that'll be the last time I go to a mall because it was so unpleasant. So we all know online shopping is going to be a big part of the future, but I think all our behaviors are shifting. And when we come out of this crisis, things will definitely be different. And what I want to talk about is 3 principles that I think we should be applying going forward or going into this crisis and beyond. And yeah, as I've said it before, but I think our new normal is basically, it's not new anymore. It's actually our normal. And I'm actually I'm phrasing these principles as questions because I think these are questions we should ask ourselves every single day when we get to work as marketers and advertisers and hopefully be able to answer them in the work we do. So the first question I'm actually asking is, are you investing in creativity that makes an impact? So I think we're all guilty of this. We do work that is very bland and very boring. And I think we all know this as well. There's various studies that actually prove that world-class creativity is actually up to 11 times more effective than bland creative. I mean, this has been done by McKinsey. It's been done by a book called The Case for Creativity. So if you want to read about it, look up The Case for Creativity. But there's a lot of, look at the McKinsey study on cans. There's a lot of studies that world-class creativity is a lot more effective than average creativity. So I think this is the principle number 1, because our resources are very strained right now, all of our resources. So don't spend money basically on bland work. What I'm going to do is I'm going to mix this up a bit and show you guys some work in the presentation, because I think hopefully this kind of work gives you an idea of how to answer these questions. So it's a little bit biased because this first piece of work is actually done by Joe Public, but it's a campaign that we recently run actually just before COVID hit. It was January to March. And I'm going to play the piece for you and then talk about it afterwards. But this is an example of a work that really, I believe, stood out. Now, I will talk about the results afterwards.
So firstly, it's a fully integrated campaign and one that really got the whole country talking.
Our TV ad took viewers through scenes that epitomized movie and series genres. But all the characters spoke only about Easy Bucks.
Chicken Lickens Easy Bucks meal.
When you summer ready, hot wings.
There's 2 sweaters.
9 of those scenes were extended to create 60-second online films, which included an iconic soapy scene which was replicated exactly.
1, 2, 3.
4 hot wings or slider combination, damn it.
At the end of each film, viewers were directed to our interactive website where they could change channels for themselves, and every character's dialogue continued seamlessly throughout.
Now imagine this.
Popcorn chicken!
Yes. The chicken that pops.
Users could then share on social media, and Mzansi went crazy for the campaign. Even the news reported on Easy Bucks twice a day for a week. To take things a step further, much further, we put up a billboard in the last place expected: Kentucky, USA, the home of our biggest competitor.
When I saw the billboard, oh, there's another place selling chicken getting ready to open up. Let me go see what's happening.
Got the chicken all on it, $1.60 right on there.
You'll never find a meal for that price in Kentucky.
The locals' reactions were recorded to create an online film that got South Africa talking about Easy Bucks once again. Then came lockdown, so we dubbed the hit soapy scene.
1, 2, 3.
21 days lockdown, damn it.
South Africa couldn't help but laugh. And the media, they had to have their say too. The results prove that everyone really was talking about Easy Bucks.
Cool. So hopefully you guys all enjoyed that. But I think what's amazing just to think about is the media you put behind your advertising is the biggest expense. I mean, I think it equates probably to about 80-90% of the expense. And I think the question always has to be, if the media costs the same, why would you invest in average creative? And And I actually honestly believe, and a lot of us do it, and we're all guilty of it, but I honestly believe if you're not investing in great creative work, you're literally wasting your money. I mean, you saw the sales increase. There was a 50% sales increase and had 35,000 shares. So I would say that's pretty much the holy grail of marketing. And I think right now, given that there's such sort of constraints on investments, I've said it, but I think this is what we should be already striving to achieve, and really working with our partners, with our clients to do this breakthrough creative work. There was actually a talk done by the CMO of Burger King on Friday at the NetBank conference. And he didn't phrase it like this, but it was quite a simple thought. He basically said in his talk that bland creative is expensive because you need to put so much more money behind your media to make it stand out, and great creative is cheap. So that's just my first thought. Really, let's focus on doing great creative work, and let's push each other as client and agency to do really great work. So that's the first point. The next point is, the next question is, what is your business purpose and how are you delivering on it? So I mean, right now, everybody's looking for the direction on where to go in these choppy waters and choppy seas. And I think if your brand purpose is clear, it'll really serve you in making calls on how to direct your marketing, how to direct your advertising. If it isn't there, you've got a problem, because I think what's going to happen is if you don't have that, you are going to get lost in the COVID clutter. And if you actually do have a purpose that you're working to, you become more relevant to consumers by helping them navigate these turbulent times. And I think this is the question we should be asking ourselves. How are we actually serving our customers and communities? And how are we doing that aligned back to our purpose? Because I think there's a saying that says, a friend in need is a friend indeed. And I think if you can really, and I'm going to show you some work, some examples of brands that are doing this, but if you can really serve your communities and customers as best as possible, that it aligns back to your brand purpose and your business purpose, I think you're going to really be in a strong position to win hearts, minds, and market share in the current short term and in the long term. And I think the brands that basically don't have this aren't aligners are really going to be showing up in this crisis. So I'm just going to show you a piece of work that I personally love. It's one of my favorite brands, but it's a piece of work that is very much, I think, it's totally authentic back to the purpose of why they exist, and it's very relevant to the current times. And I think it's really resonating with consumers around the world. I'm just going to play the commercial. If it plays. Oh. Okay, I don't know why it's not playing. Sorry, guys. Okay, well, I'm not quite sure why it's not playing, but it's a Nike commercial. And it really talks about how we are all in this together. And if we act together, if we have unity, we can achieve anything in this crisis. And it actually brings in things like Black Lives Matter. It brings in Colin Kaepernick when he went down on his knee, but it's very much aligned to their brand purpose. And their brand purpose is actually to bring inspiration and innovation to every athlete in the world. And actually Nike, what they believe is that if you have a body, you're an athlete. So they actually say their target audience is the entire globe. And I think as I said, this is not only authentically on purpose, but it's highly relevant in these uncertain times. I think, just to let you know, I mean, I actually shared this piece of work with my daughter when it was actually working. For some reason, I don't know why it's not playing. But she said to me that she had seen this commercial, and actually her principal at her school had shared this ad with the entire school because he was so moved by it, and he felt that it was just such a strong statement about what it takes to navigate these difficult times. So I think that's the kind of work we should be doing as marketers, and really putting it back to our purpose, but making it relevant to these times. And just the next little print ad I'm going to show you, hopefully that one runs because it's a print ad, but it's actually a print ad done by Heinz. And what they did was they gave out 12 million free breakfasts for school children. I think it was based in the UK. And once again, a very simple ad, but a very, very powerful action statement about what Heinz is doing, because their business purpose is actually growing a better world. And the mission, which is a big mission, is to end world hunger. So they actually are going out there and they're doing actions around what their brand stands for. And once again, I think Heinz is going to win some market share, win some hearts and minds. And the other point is, if you lose market share in these times, it's been proven in these kind of recessions, it's very, very difficult to recover. So these are the kind of actions I think we should be taking as brands. in terms of our messaging and our actions. And then my last point is, are you optimizing technology? And I think, I mean, if you've been watching the indexes, the NASDAQ has grown by 8% in the last 6 months, which is obviously a tech market index, and the Dow Jones has decreased by 8% in the last 6 months. So that's a 16% difference between those two indexes. And it's clearly apparent what investors are betting on right now, and it's technology. So I think what the question is, if the media and technology landscape has changed, because I think they're interrelated. I mean, right now, digital media is up and other media types are down, like magazines and billboards. How are you optimizing the technology you're using, and how are you optimizing the media that you've been using? And I think just like on a distribution level where online ordering and deliveries become critical, in the marketing landscape, optimizing and using technology to reach and connect your customers is becoming more and more critical than ever. And another thing around technology is, how are you measuring your marketing investment? Because there's so much technology out there where you can actually measure your campaigns. Are you doing it? And it doesn't mean just doing digital campaigns. There's ways of measuring traditional campaigns. There's a lot of metrics you can apply. And we're actually saying to all of our clients right now, if you can't measure it, don't spend it. And that's across all our mediums. And I think we all have that responsibility to do that. And I think what it'll also show you is the better creative you do, the better it's going to perform. So I think it's going to give you more confidence around doing great creative, like that first case study I showed you that got those incredible results. What I'm going to show you now is just a really amazing campaign by Burger King. And it's a great use of creativity and technology. So hopefully this one plays, because I think it's fantastic. So let me try and click on this and show you this one. Now this is not playing either. So this is a bit of a tricky one. I don't know, Maurice, maybe I'm going to try something.
I can try find the videos online if you like. And then I can play them.
Let me just see. Let me just try this quickly. Sorry, guys, I'm having a bit of a tech issue here. Let me just see if I can play it like this. So you see, the screen's now, it's too tight, I think.
No, that looked fine, huh?
Was it? Okay, let me just try. Well, so I know I'm running out. Yeah, let me try and see this one, because I'm going to skip the Nike commercial, but let me try play this one. Let me just see if I do this, if it works.
Traffic Jam Whopper. We used real-time data to detect our potential buyers in a traffic jam to offer them a Whopper and deliver on the move.
Fernanda, buenos días. Señor Eduardo, buenas tardes. ¡Ay, qué bello!
Llegaste en chinga, cabrón. Me cagaba de hambre.
Our media was 100% dynamic, promoting our service only in high congestion zones. By leveraging traffic and drivers' real-time data, we adjusted our billboards' location and content. The messages displayed information about the remaining time in traffic to order and personalized updates about deliveries in progress. Also, Waze banner ads and push notifications invited drivers to get a Whopper as soon as they entered our delivery zones. People were able to use voice commands to place the order and avoid tickets. Finally, using the latest Google Maps APIs, our app pinpointed vehicle location and speed in order to deliver for the first time ever to a driver on the move. The delivery zones changed following the traffic live, making our service available when a gridlock was identified, always within a 3-kilometer radius from the restaurants.
Hola Mariana, ¿cómo estás?
Ay, te agarraría besos.
Lo siento, estoy en servicio.
In just 1 week, we increased delivery orders by 63%, and our daily app download rate increased 44 times, becoming the #1 fast food app, surpassing McDonald's, Domino's, and Starbucks in Mexico. Coming soon, Los Angeles, San Paulo, and Shanghai. The Traffic Jam Whopper.
Enjoy the traffic jam.
Okay, great. I'm happy that one played. So yeah, I think that's just a fantastic example of how, if you combine great creativity, which we spoke about earlier, and the use of technology to generate ROI in your media space. So that's just really, sorry, let me get out of here. Yeah, just so that's it. I've literally applied three three principles or three questions that I think we should be asking ourselves, and almost on a daily basis. And the first one is, are you investing in creativity that makes an impact? Because if you aren't, rather don't spend the money. Question two is, what is your business purpose and how are you delivering on it? Because if you can define that really tightly now in this crisis and apply marketing actions and advertising actions that support this and communication that supports this, I think you're going to really get a bit of a head start on your competitors when we come out of this crisis and whenever that is. But I think it really think about that and think about the actions you're taking, like that Heinz print ad and like that Nike commercial that hopefully you guys will view around how they put it back to their brand purpose of giving inspiration and innovation to their target market. And then the last point was, are you optimizing technology? So are you really applying your thinking to using technology to in different ways, like this Whopper commercial, what that campaign did, and also from a measurement point of view, are you really looking at ways of measuring your investment, because you shouldn't be wasting a cent right now. And what I do honestly feel that if you can apply these principles now in the current crisis, as I said, this really is, it's not the new normal, it's just normal. You're going to be well positioned for success in the future. And that's me. So thank you very much.
Great, thanks. Evan?
Yes, hi Maurice. How's it?
Thanks so much.
Thank you. And I think, again, well done on this initiative that you guys have started. I think it's absolutely fantastic to have an organization like yours that's come together and all your partners to help this out. I think it's really, really amazing. So well done.
Well, and it's an honor to have guys like you assisting COBRA. I think that's what makes COBRA, is the fact that you guys give up your time to give back. So thanks so much for that.
Not at all. I think it's indicative of what's going on in the marketplace right now. So I'm going to touch on it, and I think you guys are already doing it, which is absolutely fantastic. I think the biggest thing right now is that there are probably people watching today, and they're facing challenges. And these are challenges that no one has actually had before. We've never experienced anything like this before. So we're looking for solutions. And how many people out there are actually looking to do something different, but actually don't know how? And hopefully, I'm going to give you 5 points to think about, to add on to Gareth's already 3. That just a couple of tips on what you should be doing right now, what you should have been doing, and what you can do going forward. And the one thing that we know is that things are going to carry on. They are going to come back to normal. So I want to start sharing my screen quickly so we can get that going. And I'm going to be talking about branding and design and the 5 things that you need to keep in mind. And I think it's all part of business. It's all part of what we do and how we need to keep moving forward. Branding and communication is part of our everyday lives. And, we interact with it in different ways. It can make us smile. It can make us think. It can move us to do something. It can stop us in our tracks, or it can just give us the price point for the burger special of the day. But how we get things going and how things start moving and how business is leveraging this time as we go ahead, and what are going to be the positive outcomes and effects that it's going to have on business as a whole. Brand communication that serves best is succinct, informative, and genuine. And I think now more than ever before, it has to be honest. And I think that's the biggest thing that's coming out of this entire kind of insanity that we're in. So let me go into it straight away, and let's start. My first one is strategy, and I think this forms a very important part of strategy and brand positioning. There's going to be some overlap between what I'm saying and what Gareth has said, but again, repetition helps. The biggest question I think you need to be asking yourselves at this point is your brand positioning still relevant in today's environment? Have you taken the time to revise a strategy or change it appropriately to cope with what is going on right now. And I think that's a big question that businesses and business owners need to ask themselves and look at it quite carefully. You need to work on a longer term strategy and decide who you are and what you stand for. Gareth has spoken about that purpose, and I think it keeps coming up over and over again in discussions. But it's a very important part of what needs to be done in terms of cementing you as a brand and giving you a direction and a way forward. You need to be asking yourselves, what are your strengths? What is your uniqueness? And what is your, obviously, your positioning? And this is going to form a very important part in terms of your approach to market, to marketing and to get into the market. At the moment, I've read a couple of things, but and we're constantly being bombarded by news. But as far as we're concerned now, we almost in a knowledge and adapt phase of COVID. We don't quite know all the answers. We don't know everything. We're getting bits of information every day. We're learning as we go along. And I think all of this stuff affects business on a daily basis. What clients should have been doing and what they should be doing in the past 3 months when things were in lockdown and everyone was scrambling and didn't know what was happening, I think it was a perfect opportunity for businesses to sit down and think about their strategy, think about the way forward, revisit the strengths of the brand and the foundation, relook your objectives and look at trends and what others are doing. What were your competitors doing? What were other industries doing? And basically just learning and gaining information and tips on what is working and what isn't working. But again, we all a little bit in the dark. You look at what sales cycles as well. People are looking at quarterly projections. Now it's come down to a weekly projection. That's what the sales cycle has become. So it is overwhelming to a certain extent. Communication design is how your strategy is conveyed to your market, and it's becoming more important than ever. And brands need to start becoming more empathetic in their tone to their customers. We need that emotional attachment, and brands also need to be very agile. One of our clients literally turned their business around overnight, completely migrated onto a digital platform because they still needed to educate, they still needed to teach, and so they had to make that move very quickly, and they did it very successfully. I think it's something that's come out as well, and it's been in the news, and it really has caused such a groundswell, is the whole BLM movement that happened. And it's not COVID related, but again, it makes us think. It's something that comes up, and brands and businesses need to think about this and think about it very carefully. And one of the things that did happen was that a brand like Aunt Jemima's maple syrup in the States, it has been around forever. But because of the movement, here's a company that had to look introspectively. They had to start thinking about how they're communicating, how they are touching, how their brand is touching their consumers, and take the external factors into account as well. So they're in the process of doing a complete rebrand, design of this product, the name and everything else, because they had to take into account what was being said, and they had to eliminate the stereotypes of what has been done before. So again, very, very interesting case study I think that's going to come out of that. Moving on to the next one, innovation and design thinking. I think, we can all sit back and I can ask you, what are the three things, if anything, three innovative ideas that you've come up with during lockdown? I think a lot of people might have more than three, some might have nothing. But again, it's something to really think about and to take into account. Innovation design thinking has been around for a long time, but few actually take the time to explore it and incorporate design into their design thinking into their business. But what is it really about? It's about looking at your business, how it works, what are its strengths, how you can develop and take new ideas to market, products, concepts that can take your business in a new direction, make things better, or add your offerings in the marketplace already. It goes hand in hand with the strategy and the purpose that we keep talking about. It invigorates and it ignites the business to make itself more innovative and to stay relevant. And I think relevancy is something that's going to become more and more important as we go forward. People talk about having a competitive advantage, but not many people actually take the time to delve into it and to come out with something meaningful. What we're seeing as well is that brands need to move from a transactional kind of state into more of a transformational area. And again, a lot of the things are becoming more emotional, it's becoming more tactile, and people are talking and they actually being more aware of the surroundings and what is going on right now. And this definitely becomes something that people need to think about constantly. It's not just something that happens once a year at the annual conference or in a brainstorm. But again, very important part of moving forward. I think just simply to kind of give you an idea, and for me, some of the things that popped up during COVID, one of our own brands, Inverosh, great gin. What did they do? They reworked their business. They're in alcohol. So they got together and decided to start producing hand sanitizers that they then started distributing. So again, it's how do you take what you've got and how do you leverage it going forward and develop something new? Great idea and great bit of thinking. Another one which was really amazing that came up, Decathlon, which is a French sports good business. They had a look at their products and they found they had a simple snorkeling mask as one of the items that they sold. So they sat down with engineers and other people in the business, and they realized that they could turn this into a makeshift ventilator that they then distributed and shared with people as a stopgap when there was a shortage of them around the world. So really great, innovative thinking there. The next one, which is really, it's actually a really nice story. One of the Lego employees was traveling on business, and he was in China. And he actually got stuck in Wuhan during their lockdown. So what he did was he had nothing else to do. He couldn't do anything. So he developed this little comic strip and he started communicating it and drawing it up and distributing it digitally. And basically they were targeting, it was targeting kids, and it was giving them, telling them how they didn't have to worry about this virus. So again, just a nice leveraging of the brand and moving forward and touching your customers in a really nice way that makes a lasting impression from a brand, which is really great. Number 3 is visibility and keeping the lights on. And I think businesses and brands out there can easily ask themselves how visible or how dark are they right now? Brands can't afford to go quiet, and Gareth did touch on it, and that's a very important thing. You can't get lost in the craziness that's going on. Now more than ever, you need an abundance of communication. You need to keep communicating to your customers. You need to keep talking to them, and you need to be out there. You need to keep the awareness up in the market as well. There was some research done recently, and they basically went out, and one of the questions was they were asking consumers about brands that weren't making a noise right now or weren't quite visible. And the interesting thing that came back from the research was that consumers perceived that brands that weren't active, they perceived them as brands in trouble. Now, that's the last thing you want your brand and your business to be in, the position to be in, because it's just an uphill struggle from there. Other comments that came out and other findings was that people say that if you do go quiet during this time, it could take you up to 5 years to get back to the position you were before lockdown. So if you think about the investment and the things you need to do, a hell of a lot of money is going to be spent to just reach the levels of awareness and market share that you had before. People are moving at the moment. So people are in a state of need. So they're going to jump and they're going to move around. So you need to be very, very aware of it. I think a very important, and sorry for Gareth that that clip couldn't play. It's a fantastic ad from Nike, but Nike is a great example of a brand. And what happened was when lockdown happened, they immediately came out with a statement which is absolutely wonderful. And it literally said, if you ever dreamed of playing for millions around the world, now's your chance. Play inside, play for the world.
Evan, let me jump in there. I've got the video.
Oh, great.
I'm gonna share it.
Yes, fantastic. Play it.
There we go.
Great, thank you. Thanks, Maurice.
Sure. Here we go.
We're never alone. And that is our strength. Because when we're doubted, we'll play as one. When we're held back, we'll go farther and harder. If we're not taken seriously, we'll prove that wrong. And if we don't fit the sport, we'll change the sport. We know things won't always go our way.
And the world's sporting events are postponed or cancelled.
But whatever it is, we'll find a way. And when things aren't fair, we'll come together for change.
We have a responsibility
to make this world a better place.
And no matter how bad it gets, we will always come back stronger. Because nothing can stop what we can do together.
Brilliant.
Yeah, that was
Thank
great.
you.
Sure.
Beautiful. Just an absolutely beautiful piece of communication, that. And I think Nike has definitely taken the high ground and have just blown the competition away during this time with bits of communication like that. And they've been very active the whole time in talking, in connecting, in coming up with statements and moving ahead, which is really nice. And what came out of that, this entire campaign, there were so many different things that they did. And one of the ideas that came out of that initial thing was the Living Room Cup, which was just a wonderful initiative where they brought in professional sports people from around the world. Custer was part of that. You had Ronaldo, massive stars, tennis, golf, everyone. And they did weekly challenges, and you could download it. You could go up against these pros, challenge them, see who's won, who won, who's done the most reps. So it was really just a great way of keeping people active, keeping the brand awareness high up, and just creating new touch points with the customers. Really amazing. My next point is brand design. And
just to point out, you're not sharing your screen any longer.
Sorry. Okay, let me just get that going. Right. Thanks, Maurice. So brand design. I think, why do we communicate our brands to the market? I think that's one of the things that we need to be aware of. And how do we know if we've communicated properly once we get out there? And I think the very simple thing is that you get a response and outcome from the communication and what it was designed to get. And for me, I think the biggest thing is I want brands and businesses and people to look good. And I think there's no excuse for not giving your brand the best possible opportunity to succeed. And unfortunately, I think what this time has brought up, it's brought up a lot of retrenchments. A lot of people have lost their jobs. A lot of businesses have closed down. But there's also an amazing energy that's moved in now. People starting new businesses, starting new ideas. And I think now is the time where these startups and these people actually need to look at what they're doing and give themselves the best possible chance for success. the brand identity becomes such an important departure for a business in appealing to their customers, creating a point of difference in the industry they work in, and just creating a name for themselves. And people need to think about this quite carefully. You need to think about how you portray yourselves. What do you do? How do you look out there? We can have a look at logos, and these are logos that we are bombarded with on a daily basis. But there's a power in these things, and that's what great branding and great design can do. It makes a business stand out. It allows a business to talk about themselves for a few more minutes. It just is such an amazing starting point for anyone to move forward on. And people need to understand the power that design and branding does for a business. I think what's also very interesting to look at Discovery, great brand in the country. But again, what was really amazing is that we've all seen this move now to credit cards that are upright. And that was something that came up from a company overseas that looked at it. And if you think about it, it's just legacy things. Our credit cards were always landscaped because of the old swiping credit card machines, for those of us old enough to remember. And it never moved on from there until someone actually thought about it one day and said, well, why do we move things forward? And here it is. We all use our cards upright now in machines. You swipe them. So just a natural thing. But again, a great idea to revive something that's been around for such a long time. What is also interesting, and this was something that happened about 4 or 5 years ago, where brands started looking at, like we were trying to flatten the curve, they literally started flattening their curves by creating flat logos. Mini was one of the first to start off, and what they did was they actually created a completely 2D version of their logo in a very flat form. And soon other car manufacturers and other brands started following suit. And we're already seeing these flattened logos on adverts on TV and in the marketplace. What's interesting now is that with COVID and the lockdown and what's happened, there has been an exponential move over to the digital side. The digital wave was happening already, but it really moved during the last 3 months. So what is happening now is that brands are now looking at their branding and their logos, because we now need to be aware of how our logos communicate on a variety of different electronic devices. So what's becoming important now is the legibility of the brand and the logo on something as small as a cell phone. So people can't afford their logos not to be seen because, again, it's bad communication and your connection to your consumer is gone. So logos are now being looked at in pixels to make sure that they work. And lastly, I think collaboration. Collaboration and partnering is such an important part. And I think it's all about finding answers and building relationships and partners to co-create value. And it's an imperative in today's world. It's all about building relationships with suppliers, customers, stakeholders, to give you the opportunity to see things from different angles. Brands are now working together, pooling resources, ideas, products, and thinking of how these products and concepts can go to market in a fresh and relevant way. What's very interesting, and the chairman of Louis Vuitton has actually made a statement about Zara and saying how they've really taken over the fashion industry in such an amazing way. And what Zara's got going for themselves is they can take a garment from a runway in Milan to their stores worldwide in 6 weeks, where others take up to 6 months. And they can only achieve that by the collaboration and the partnerships that they've created with their entire supply chain. All the people that they work with, they're all working together. They're working as one to have this amazing outcome and this speed to market. Again, this isn't new, but it's going to be even more important now going forward. because brands are now fighting for customer attention and awareness. You look at your key competencies as a company, and you find ways of attracting like-minded brands, or even brands that are completely opposite but complementary, and you work together to create something new and just something unique. We've got our own fashion example right here, which is COLLAB Poppy, who's a designer, a graphic designer and illustrator, who's collaborated with Rich and Simi to create a fashion brand, a leisure wear, because she's a graphic designer, he's in fashion, so great opportunity. Wonderful things that have come out of it, which is really amazing. For me, one of the quirkiest things that I've seen as a collaboration in the past a little while is KFC and Crocs. Absolutely bizarre, but it can only bring a smile to your face. They brought out a limited edition KFC branded Crocs. You get these little things called giblets, which are charms made to resemble chicken legs that smell like fried chicken as well, that you can clip onto your Crocs and off you go. Runaway success. They were retailing for $60 each. You'll probably find them on eBay for a couple of $1,000 by now. But just a wonderful idea, just nice and refreshing and something simple to unique to bring to the market. So yeah, that's me. Just 5 points and 5 thoughts and just a couple of examples of what people should be thinking about and what you should be doing. And just very simply, you need to remember your strategy. It's about your brand positioning. Is it still relevant today? Your innovation, how much have you done? Your visibility, how noticeable and impactful is your brand in this noise right now? Your brand design, is it appropriate for today's time? And collaboration, are you leveraging the power of the partnerships that you could be in? And I think just as 6, just to sum it all up, is when all of these fall into place and they're aligned, I think that's when the magic starts happening. And what's very interesting is I think the reality right now is that there are no winners or losers, but you need to be designing and building your business in order to stay in the game. Thank you. That's me.
Brilliant. Thanks so much. I see we do have some questions. I'd ask the audience to please post questions now, if any. So we have one from Adam. Gareth, really enjoyed your presentation. Ditto, as did I. Most companies cut spend in times of crisis. Some see opportunity in the crisis and invest to grow. Which local companies do you view as leading investment for growth?
I actually comment to the panelists. I didn't comment to everybody. I know that P&G globally has actually gone out there with a statement saying that they're actually doubling down on investment because they've tracked all the previous recessions to see what's happened if they don't spend. They've actually lost market share. So they're actually spending more than their competitors. But I think for P&G, it's maybe easier because certain of those brands are well suited to the crisis. So like their soap brands and all those kind of things. So I think it depends on your sector. I mean, we've got some clients that are also investing, also FMCG brands. I don't want to give away a competitive advantage, but they are actually investing more in media now than ever because media is cheaper now than ever. So I think obviously it depends on your business. If you haven't got the cash to invest, it becomes difficult. But if you are looking, relatively healthy, I think now is the time to get ahead of the curve because as Evan mentioned, there's a lot of evidence out there. I mean, Kantar's done research that if you lose market share now, it's very hard to get it back.
Evan, I got a question for you also from Adam, and it's actually very, very interesting. Many of the world's superheroes were created shortly after the Great Depression. Can we expect a new wave of idols that will motivate social mood post the current crisis? But maybe you also can comment, I mean, what would actually drive that? I mean, what desires, what emotions does one tap into, when it comes to kind of social movements? I mean, what was that about?
Yeah, absolutely. Interesting question. I think it's such a big thing at the moment. I think if you look at the heroes and something that came up after COVID, it was that whole thing about the hospital workers, and there was a huge move that took over, and we saw a lot of lot of praise and a lot of things, communication and things being done around them. Are there going to be massive heroes that come out of this one? I think there will be. But again, I think it's a very different time. People are becoming more emotional, and we're also seeing brands that are moving in a different space altogether. There was something very interesting as well, is that people talking about customer relationships, it's now moving on to human relationships. So are there going to be heroes? There definitely are. I don't know who they're going to be, but there definitely will be some people to look out for.
I have a question from Emma, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to just put a slide on the screen in relation to the various industries. Emma asked, do you have any tips for businesses to leverage technology, referring to your earlier point? And what I'll do is I'll share the screen over here, and we can see the different industries and what's happened to them in the context of COVID. So maybe, you know, if you were to look at technology and answer the question with reference to those that are really down, like construction and travel, transportation, manufacturing, and then you'll see food is really doing well. So yeah, what would you say around leveraging technology with references to these businesses, Evan?
You know what, technology is playing a huge part now more than ever. I think I've seen something like this before. I think COVID had one of these slides up. COBRA had one of these slides up a little while ago. I think different industries need to look at themselves and look at how they can leverage technology and move forward. I think food has been very quick to react to what has happened. More retailers getting their stuff online, deliveries, and all of that. You look at people like the gyms as well, and personal trainers, also very quick to react. People started doing Zoom sessions, Zoom classes. Again, education was very, very slow. And I think that's such an important part, especially in this country at the moment, that technology has to be looked at and leveraged on a massive scale. I think kids are really disadvantaged right now. You look at the first one, advertising, and the kind of areas that we in, there has been a decline in terms of spend and all of that. And again, clients are looking at leveraging technology, how they can move onto a digital platform and how they can bring their products to market in different ways. I think we all now really attached to our mobile phones, our electronic devices, and advertisers and brands are now finding a way in to communicate with the customers. But I think every sector is going to have a look at it and see where they can almost change their business and engineer it into a more technical based platform.
And wouldn't you? It's interesting, you know, also new markets are being created in advertising. You know, the first that springs to mind is all of a sudden we have these webinars. Have you guys applied your mind to that? Do you actually pivot? And now, you know, what thoughts do you have in relation to marketing via the webinar platform? I mean, surely that's an opportunity.
Yeah, that's a huge opportunity. Gareth, I don't know if you want to comment on that.
Yeah, Gareth, I mean, just if you think about it, here we are having a webinar. And surely this is something that one should look at, some kind of possibly remuneration for the webinar hosts if they were to put market brands on it. You know, just to think to mind, there is going to be that pivoting, and there are these new markets that have suddenly emerged, webinars being one of them.
Yeah, I mean, I must say, I think it's still quite new for everybody, but so to the point, I mean, generating ad revenue out of the webinars, I'm not quite sure, but I think, I mean, for example, the Nedbank IMC conference was 1,000 people. It was on Friday, and there was a webinar done online, and it was a big sponsored event. So it's definitely, I mean, I think at this point it's more taking traditional events and turning them into webinars. That's been the trend. I mean, I know, for example, I'm on the Luries board, and we're having the Luries this year as a virtual event, and there's a number of sponsors on board. So I think, yes, I think it is an opportunity. Whether it's a big advertising revenue channel, I'm not quite sure, but I know that it's definitely going to be the way of the future for the next foreseeable future, maybe 12 months or more. So yeah, I mean, that's something to think about, I suppose. I mean, just
yeah, sorry.
Yeah. I mean, just so there was just a question in the chat box while we were just chatting, because I don't know how much time we've got left, but there's a question around how do you find purpose? Because I think it's quite a daunting notion. It's quite a big and out there concept. I mean, whoever is looking to get some assistance with brand purpose, we've actually have, and it's not a sales tool. I mean, I'm not doing a sales job here, but we have actually got a methodology that we have brought to our clients to bring brand purpose to their businesses. We've applied it to our business, more than a decade ago. So yeah, if anybody wants some help on how to go about finding brand purpose, I'm happy to chat to them afterwards and maybe give some assistance and direct them in that area. Just to add that comment.
Yeah, no, great. Gareth, whilst I have you on, the CEO of COBRA wants some free advice and has asked on the chat that you comment on the branding, and you can be brutally honest. Okay, has our CEO failed us?
You know what? I've always been, it's quite funny. I used the coronavirus in my logo. I mean, not my logo, and that second screen I used. To be honest, I'm always a bit, when I see that coronavirus icon, it always scares me a bit. So I always feel that identity should be more inspiring and positive. So my only advice, Evan's actually more in design than I am, but I would say, that would be my question. Do we always have to see this scary coronavirus everywhere? I quite like the abbreviation of COVID Business Rescue Assistance. I like that idea. So I like that. But, and I do think, logo should be more inspiring and not scary. That would be my comment.
Okay, so you're saying Adam has failed us?
I'm not.
No, I hear you, but I think
I've answered you as honestly as I can.
No. Thank you for that. Yeah, I think the point is everybody, all the brands at the same time just got out of the starting gates at the same time, used it as a brand. I think it's just pretty much become cliche, and we've got to move on.
Yeah.
So there we go. We are out of time. Thanks so much, guys. Thanks to the panelists. This is honestly really, really insightful. We're going to ask that you guys come back. Times are changing. Things are changing rapidly. So it'll be good to have your insights in only 3 months' time. If you think about it, people are predicting exponential technology to take over the world in 10 years. It suddenly happened in 3 months, 4 months. So thanks, guys. Thanks to the panelists, and importantly, thanks to the attendees, both the webinar attendees and the Facebook attendees. We do have another webinar tomorrow at 10 o'clock, so please join that. Otherwise, until then, thank you and goodbye.
Thank you.
Cheers.